What's up everyone? So today we are going to cook some amazing delicious lentils, and it's great for you guys who are vegetarians or vegans to get your protein in because lentils are packed with protein, yes? And this recipe is so simple to make, it'll knock your heads off. Let's get into it. So as you can see, I'm done prepping the ingredients. I have chopped an onion, cut some tomatoes, got the lentils here, some ginger, and these two chilies for some decoration. Yes. So now let's turn the heat on, take a kadai and put this on. Now once the kadai is hot, where the is the oil? So I've put 1 teaspoon of sunflower oil in. You can use any other oil, olive oil, canola oil, any other refined vegetable oil. All of them work fine. But sunflower oil is a really nice source of vitamin E, and that's why I use it in almost everything that I cook. So while the oil gets hot, I'll just chop my tiny piece of ginger. So once the oil is nice and hot, I'm going to throw in a little bit of ginger in there. I've just minced it with my knife. And then as soon as you put your ginger in, throw in the onion. So I have used one small-ish onion. It was 70 grams. The exact details are of course on your screen right now. Oh, fried onions always smell so good. So let these be at high heat and just keep stirring them so that they don't burn. And if you think they are starting to burn a little, just put a splash of water in there. And there's a very handy trick to fry onions that I talk about in my paneer masala video. So do check it out. The link is gonna come here somewhere. Yes. So as you can see, the onions are done. I didn't use a lot of them, so they cooked very quickly. And now we're gonna throw all the tomatoes in. So these are 4 small to medium-ish tomatoes, around 270 grams. So the thing with lentils is that lentils are very sweet and dense. So whenever I cook lentils, I try to counter their flavor using something that is tangy, that is bright. So this is why I'm using such a huge proportion of tomatoes compared to the onions. So to get the best tanginess out of your tomatoes, there is one trick that I'm going to show you. Let's switch the cameras over. So when you're cooking your tomatoes, turn them flesh side down. Alright. So for example, this one here, this piece is skin side down. What you want to do is flip it and keep it flesh side down. So when you keep tomatoes flesh side down, what happens is they will slowly release their water, and since the pan is hot, the water will start to evaporate, which leaves the tomatoes kind of shriveled and very tangy. It helps develop this sourness, and that is exactly what I want for this lentil recipe. So let it be on high heat. Don't worry, they will not burn because water is continuously trickling down from the tomatoes. Yes. So while the tomatoes are being cooked, let's take the lentils and rinse them. So to rinse your lentils, all you need to do is fill it up with water, shake it a little, drain. Then again fill it up with water, shake a little, drain. Twice will be fine. So we do that to get rid of the excess dirt, the polish that they might have put on the lentils to make them shiny. Okay, so I've rinsed these. The tomatoes have been sitting there for around a minute. Let me just stir them around. Awesome. So they look nice and cooked. I'll throw in a little splash of water so that the onions don't burn out. The flavor is really nice. Now I'll turn it to a simmer. Let me tell you what lentils I'm using, right? You must be wondering that. So what I have here is Masoor Dal, and these are orange lentils. Now you can also use the tiny small yellow ones, Moong ki dal, yes, and you can also use split gram, that is chane ki dal. Now these give the perfect consistency in this recipe. If you use Moong ki dal, the tiny yellow ones, they'll become a little soggy. If you use chane ki dal, which is split gram, they are a bit tougher to cook. So if you use chane ki dal, in any case, just soak it for around half an hour to an hour before you actually cook this recipe, and everything will be fine. So before we throw in our lentils, what we will do is blister the skins of these tomatoes. As you can see, they've turned nice and soft and pulpy. Blistering the skins of the tomatoes enables their flesh to leave the skins, and that will give us a homogeneous gravy and also give as much amount of flavor as we need to the lentils. So now is the time to throw in all of my dal. Yes. Cool, so all of my lentils are in. Now is the time for these chilies to go in. Now you can put these in the beginning when the oil is hot, sort of fry them a little, gives a nice smokiness. But I use these mainly for decoration. It just looks good. So I'm just going to throw them in. I don't want the spiciness from these, so I won't break them. Just stir them around. Look at that, the redness of the tomatoes, the orange lentils, they look so good. And now's the time to put spices and seasonings. You'll be surprised to see how simple I keep this recipe in terms of the spices. So all we need for this recipe is, of course, some salt. Now lentils need salt, so I'm going to put in a good teaspoon and just a little more of salt. You can of course change the quantity based on your preferences. Then we will put some turmeric, some haldi powder. Now this will give a really nice yellow color to the lentils. Then, as I told you, that lentils are sort of sweet and dense. Whatever I do to this recipe is mainly to counteract that flavor. And now we'll put in some red chili powder. Now again, depending on how spicy you like it, you can put more or less, but I'm going to use just a pinch of red chili powder, less than 1/4 of a teaspoon. I just want a slight flavor of the red chili. I don't want to burn my mouth with it. And then a little bit of Heeng, compounded Asafoetida. Again, around 1/4 of a teaspoon will do. This will aid your digestive system and won't do much for the flavor. But if you put more in it, it will give you a very slight oniony mild flavor. Done with the seasonings. I'm gonna stir it a little. So I can smell the turmeric in there. The tomatoes, of course. Just a little bit of smokiness coming from these chilies. Now is the time to put in some water, cover it up and let it sit. Now this recipe does not have a lot of gravy. There'll be sookhe. Sookhe means dry. So this is a dry lentil recipe and it is great as a standalone meal, and it also tastes brilliant with some chapatis or parathas. So now is the turn for some water. So the trick is to actually cover the lentils up because these absorb a lot of water. So what I'm doing here is using 1.5 cups of water. Okay, so we've put the water in. Let me turn the heat on, let the water boil, and now we'll put a special ingredient that's gonna give this some creaminess, a mild sweetness. It'll make the dish elevate even more, and that is milk powder. Now, don't be afraid if you are vegan. Milk powder can be skipped totally. This is just for an extra bit of creaminess and sweetness. So what we'll do is take 1 tablespoon of milk powder and throw it in. Now you might be wondering why I have put milk powder and not milk. Yes, absolutely right. You can use milk. It'll give you the creaminess that you want. You can take a little less water and more milk in that case. But milk powder has a slight bit of sugar in it, and that gives this dish a very, very, very tiny hint of sweetness that I like, and it's just easy to throw in a random spoon of milk powder. Now, if you are vegan, you can also use coconut milk. I believe that will go really well with the lentils because coconut milk for me is fresh, and freshness goes really well against that density of the lentils. So just stir this around. So once this comes to a boil, turn it to a simmer, cover this up. And now it will take hardly 10 minutes for the lentils to absorb all that water, that goodness of the milk powder, and then it will be ready. Now, if you're unsure about the quantity of water that you've put in, it's better to err on the lower side. Why? Because if lentils turn out a little harder at the end when you've cooked them, you can always put a little more water, cover them up, cook them for a little bit, and that'll be fine. But if you put more water, what will happen is the lentils will become mushy, stick together, they'll start breaking apart. And in this recipe, it is a dry recipe, not a gravy recipe. So I like the lentils to stand out. When you eat them, you should feel the individual grains, I don't know, individual pieces of dal in your mouth. So that is what I am aiming to achieve in terms of the consistency of this dish. So now we can chill for 10 minutes. You don't need to stand in the kitchen, just keep it at a simmer. Come after 10 minutes and see what the condition of the lentils is like. And this is the beauty of this recipe. It is so easy. 10 minutes have gone by and now let's see what the lentils look like. Oh my god. Yes, they've absorbed all the water. As you can see, they've absorbed all the water and they've almost doubled in size. Nice. Let's just stir everything a little. Oh my god, this looks delicious. Okay, so we're almost done. Let me just taste. It's got that sweet and dense flavor of the lentils, of course, but the tomatoes are doing their job. They're giving it the tanginess that it needs. Wow, it's amazing. And as you saw, it is so simple to make. And this much water was just fine for the texture that I want for my lentils. You know what? That's it. So the macronutrients of this recipe are on your screen right now. As you saw, it is so simple to make and it has loads of protein. If you enjoyed the video, do hit the like button. And once you cook this recipe, let me know how it went. Share this with your friends and don't forget to subscribe because I upload new videos every week with detailed calorie and macronutrient information. Thank you so much.